Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics / Non-Classic. This is episode number 592 and Doubleshot number 496. Two DC trades. First up, it is Tales of the Batman by Tim Sale. Yeah, this collects Tim Sale's early stuff he did before he did stuff like The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, and a bunch of other limited series with mixed reaction writer Jeff Loeb. This is what the trade contains. Showcase 94 3-4, Legends of Dark Knight 32-34, Shadow of the Bat 7-9, Solo number 1, and I believe just one story from Batman Black and White Volume 2. The first story, which I think is from pages of Showcase. Yeah, I think it's from the pages of Showcase. Is it? No, yeah, it's from Showcase. That's done by Alan Grant. He's the writer of the thing, with Jimmy Palmiotti as the inker for it. Yep. The Legends Dark Knight one, that's the very underrated, very good story known as Blades. It's a three-part of Legends Dark done by the ever-awesome James Robertson. Of course, Tim Sale was the artist for it. Misfits, which is something I reviewed for the trade Batman Shadow Bat Volume 1. Yeah, which also by Alan Grant. Dark Knight, which that one is from Solo. That's done by Darwin Cook. He's the writer of the thing, Darwin Cookie. The last one is done by Kelly Pudick. Those of you who don't know who the Kelly Pudick is, he is the one who created... there's two major characters he created for DC Comics, both of whom are not white characters. One is the son of Green Arrow, Connor Hawke. He created him, who is half white, half black. The other is Cassandra Cain. Yeah, he created her. And she was the first non-white member of the Batman family. And she's still around this very day, though she's adopted the name Orphan. And one thing nice about her, when she was first reintroduced in the current continuity, I am so happy the fact they kept her Asian origin story, her Asian heritage part of her. Now, what about the stories in here? The first story, called Madman, yeah, that's just about various different Batman villains just doing whatever the heck they want. Of course, also feature Bane. It's a pretty interesting story set at Blackgate. The Blade story features a seedless villain known as the Cavalier. Yeah, this was his first post-Flashlight appearance, who is a swordsman. I'm kind of thinking, no, now I'm sure Roberts was like, okay, we have this character called the Cavalier. No one's seen him probably about 10 years by the time he showed up. And actually it was about a few years because the last appearance he made was in Batman 400. He's a swordsman who actually was a very honorable person who accidentally fell into crime by killing a guy and committing robbery. And so he dueled with Batman in an honorable sword duel. He says that if Batman defeats him, he will turn himself into the police, which he lost, and he did turn himself into the police, fulfilling his word. It was a great story. And that was originally collected in a couple different ones. One is Batman Collected. Yeah, that's actually one trade that this story is collected. Excuse me, yeah, which collects several different stories that James Robinson did for the Batman Legends Dark Knight series. This series was meant to basically explore Batman's, let's say, his history. Various stories over the course of his first 5 years of his career. That was simply the whole point of it. And they did it really well. The only other time I could see here that those 3 issues were in fact collected, I think it was in like a James Robinson trade, I think it was. Yeah. But it's an overall really good story. Misfits is a 3-parter which involves a group of seedless Batman villains who work together to try to take down Batman and failing. Date Night is simply a story that features Batman going on a date with Catwoman. Yep, that's really the whole point of it. Night After Night, which is the last story in here, and like the title says, black and white. Once I get to it, yeah, it is in black and white. It's a great little noir type story, and I highly recommend you check out the second limited series they did for Batman Black and White. It's just a story focused on Bruce Wayne, him fighting the Joker, him in his early days. It's an overall really great story, and it's so good DC did this. And do you know how long ago this trade came out? I mean, I actually got this trade for roughly about $3. Yeah, I got it from a store named called Ollie's. This trade came out roughly 11 years ago, and I gotta praise the condition of this trade. It's not too bad when I got it. I mean, the back of the cover, the back cover has a little partial dog-eared, but it's still really good condition for an 11-year-old book. I'm gonna give this a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. Next up is a character I have never reviewed a trade for him before, but now I have a trade for him, and it's not very thick. It's a very thin trade, and this is the Spectre, Tales of the Unexpected. Yeah, that's the name of this thing. Yeah, this is the Crispus Allen Spectre. He's the third host of the Spectre, though in the current continuity it's been restored to Jim Corrigan, who basically was the Spectre from the 1930s up until 1990s, when his third volume of the series, done by John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake, and very beautifully, which later led to the Day of Judgment, which had later on had Hal Jordan take over as the Spectre for several years, and then of course we had Crispus Allen start Infinite Crisis. He was Spectre for not that long period of time. I mean, Hal Jordan was Spectre roughly, I think it was roughly about 7 years. Crispus Allen was Spectre for 5 years. Yeah, for 5 years he was a Spectre. From 2006 until 2011 he was a Spectre. And what did he have of his own as a Spectre? Well, Jim Corrigan had 3 volumes of the Spectre series. Hal Jordan had 3 volumes and 1 miniseries. Hal Jordan had 1 volume. Crispus Allen had a 3-issue miniseries and a split, actually, in 2 other miniseries was a Spectre. One is a backup feature from the series Tales of the Unexpected. The other, of course, is a miniseries done by Greg Rucka called Fine Revelations, which is basically about religious stuff, and it deals with stuff during the events of Final Crisis. It's a great miniseries. Highly recommend it. As for this, well, this trade is not very long. It collects the backup stories from Tales of the Unexpected. Yeah, that's really what this trade collects. It's roughly 5 issues, and it's the backup stories. Now, you're probably thinking, though, okay, why in the world, if it's 5 issues, why is it this thin? Well, DC has sort of a minor reputation for doing this, for putting out trades this short. Yes, it's not the first DC did this. They also did it for the controversial Titan/Young Justice Graduation Day, when they first released that in trade. It was 3 issues, and it was about this thin. They've also done it for a Showcase Presents book featuring the character Batlash, and that was not even noteworthy to be a Showcase book. It could have fit better as a regular trade, but no, they had to put it as a Showcase book because it's from the stuff on the Silver Age. Okay. Yeah, and the whole point of this miniseries, the stories for Spectre, he wants to go after Crispus Allen for his own death. I think he eventually does, but it's a pretty good miniseries. It's kind of sort of because it's a character from the Batman comics. Batman shows up in this miniseries. He appears in almost every single story, and he's not written to be like the central focus character, but yeah, here's the thing. Batman knows who the Spectre is. He knows Crispus Allen, and he tries his damnedest to try to stop him, but he's just a supernatural-based character. Now, who does this miniseries? Well, now, there is one artist on here that is a familiar name, like I mentioned. Tom Mandrake is one of the several artists in this series, along with Eric Battle, and Prentice Rollins. The writer is a person who hasn't done a lot of stuff I can think of, and not a lot of stuff I've read, and that's David Lapham. Is he a terrible writer? No, he isn't. He writes the character. He writes Christmas out to be a pretty interesting Spectre, and I got to admit, basically, that he wrote this series to be pretty interesting, and the way that the Christmas Island stories were structured is that because he's a detective, writing like crime stories. Yes, something that the Jim Corrigan stories did in fact do, right half the time, even though half of them are really weird. They usually were most of the time usually structured as crime-based stories mixed with a supernatural element. In the case of the Hal Jordan run, it was a sci-fi adventure. Yeah, it was a really bizarre run. James DeMatteis did the run. It's a pretty disappointing run when it comes to something by James DeMatteis, who was a very good writer, and his run was just okay. It wasn't terrible per se. It didn't last very long. It only lasted about 27 issues. It wasn't that long of a run. When Christmas Allen got his own volume as a Spectre, it was a 3-issue miniseries. Not kidding about that. As for the Tales of the Unexpected, that's not the name of a storyline. That's the name of a miniseries. Now that was a miniseries connected to the very bad weekly series Countdown. Now I've read every single miniseries that came out with Countdown. All of them are really good, and here's the thing, they're 100 times better than the actual main series because those are interesting. Besides this, you have Tales of Mystery, which is a great series. That actually featured the Steve Gerber doing his own take on Dr. Fate, which was really good. Eddie Burrows actually did some artwork for that series. I actually own the first issue. It's really good. There was one about Search Ray Palmer. There was also one about several alternate versions. About the alternate version of the DC Trinity. There was like several different miniseries, and this might in fact sound a bit pointless in a way, but they're really good miniseries. And even though yes, Tales Unexpected, this was a miniseries tied to Countdown, but it was really good. Now the thing about the Tales Unexpected name itself, that was actually the name of an old comic series that DC published from the 50s about, let's say, the 1980s. It lasted for roughly over 200 issues, which gotta praise DC Comics for doing that. Yeah, that's the thing with DC Comics. Like Marvel, where half the time comics don't even last maybe 100 issues if they're lucky about it. Yeah, it wasn't that many. DC did a lot better when it comes to putting out series, and they actually managed to last for over 200 issues. I mean, if you count basically series that had over 200 issues, it's not as high as DC Comics. DC put out a lot more higher amount, and Tales Unexpected, which is an 8-issue limited series, and of course Spectre took up basically issues 4 through 8. I don't remember who was the opening feature of the series. Let me look it up here. But I know it wasn't him. It was somebody else. Let's see. Yeah, it was okay. Excuse me. Yeah, it was. Well, actually, kind of forgot. He actually did the opening. I actually kind of forgot about this. Yeah, there was actually one other trade that collects this thing. He actually was the opening feature for the book. I kind of forgot he was a backup feature, but he definitely was featured in the book. There was actually one other trade called Crisis the Spectre, which collects the first 3 issues. Plus, of course, it collects the original volume. Now, there is a backup feature in the book, and it's Dr. 13. Yeah, DC's biggest skeptic, the guy who was a supporting character in the pages of Phantom Stranger. Yeah. Oh, in case you're wondering, did the Spectre have his own series in the current continuity? Yes, they did. It's a series called Gotham by Midnight. I own the first 6 issues in the annual. Really good comic book. I really wish DC Comics wouldn't have canceled the book. Yeah, that book made the least sense it could act. All the other books, not really a big problem. But that book made no sense at all, especially when it was a really damn good comic book. Even this is really damn good. I'm going to give this also a 9.5 out of 10. And I love the tagline back of this. The time of vengeance is at hand. Yeah, going after Yeah. If you're wondering how he became the Spectre, he actually was killed by a man named Jim Corrigan. No, it's not the original host of Spectre. There's actually 3 different Jim Corrigans. The one who was the Spectre, the other, of course, was a black guy from the pages of Black Lightning. He was Tony Bill's creation. And the third one was a crooked cop. Let's say he was a CSI. He was a crooked CSI from the pages of Gotham Central. A highly recommended comic book that was done by, I think it was done, I know one of the writers, I think it was Greg Rucka. Because it was done around the same time they did the Mort's Iron Fist series, which was done by Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, and I don't remember the other's name, but yeah, Brubaker did do the series as well. Yeah, the series done by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka with artwork by Michael Lark. Him leaving the book is the reason why that book ended. In the case of Immort's Iron Fist, yeah, the artist of that series was David Aja, which those two later reteamed for the Hawkeye series, which was really good. And toward the end of the series, Christmas Island was killed by Jim Corrigan, who later became the Spectre in the pages of Infinite Crisis, when the Spectre was basically driven nuts by Eclipso. Yes, Eclipso. Yeah, a character who is basically confused both being a hero and a villain. There's been several hosts over the years. The most common host was Bruce Gordon. No, that's not Jim Gordon and Bruce Wayne merged together. That's really the name of the character, and he was Eclipso for a very long period of time, up until, let's say, I think it was like 1990s when he finally gave up being the Eclipso. There was a couple other hosts of Eclipso. The last known host was Gene Loring. Yep. In the current continuity, there's been a few different people who have possibly assumed the Eclipso host. There was the Black Death Probabilities thing, which, of the 3 titles set into it, All-Star Western basically did fine afterwards. Catwoman basically was driven to the ground, and Team 7 ended because of that crossover. But it wasn't a connected crossover, just three books connected to that thing. But the Spectre himself, when he first appeared in the current continuity, it was in the pages of Phantom Stranger, the one done by Jan DeMatteis. He brought the character back, which I think for people who are fans of Spectre, were so happy he brought it back. If you read that series, that went along with the Constantine series, like that one, Constantine and Justice League Dark, like any known supernatural-based character was brought into current continuity thanks to those 3 series, well, along with Demon Knights. Yeah, these 4 comic books brought in a lot of the supernatural-based characters post-Flashpoint. Yeah, you gotta thank these comics for doing that. And those writers who brought these characters, people like, besides Jan DeMatteis, you also have Ray Fox, Peter Mulligan, and Jeff Lemire. You gotta thank these 4 writers for bringing these characters in to the current continuity. Yeah, it was both Jan DeMatteis and Dan DiDio who brought in Jim Corrigan, aka the Spectre, which the Phantom Stranger kind of turned him into the Spectre anyways. There's that. Will ever get a chance to view the New 52 run of the Phantom Stranger / Trinity of Sam Phantom Stranger? That is a maybe if I ever get a chance to get Hamilton on the trade, because that was a really damn good series. Too bad it got canceled with the 22 issues. Yeah, and it was also the longest title under the 3rd wave of New 52. We'll talk more about that when I get a chance to Hamilton on the trade, because one thing I did notice still about, like, when it came to the New 52 3rd wave, all the books except for Talon and Trinity of Sam Phantom Stranger all got axed after issue 7. Yeah, if you look it up, that's all completely true. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which I'm going to talk about 2 more books, and you'll find out what they are in the next episode, okay? But until I see you next episode, bye.